everyone, I'm so excited to share a ton of books that I recently got at a library book sale. Guys, this book sale is massive. It's a 3-day annual event in my city where basically all of the libraries in my county get rid of all the books that they don't need anymore for whatever reason. So it's this huge library sale where you can pick up a hardback for like $1 or $2. It's pretty wild. So I have quite a few books to talk about, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. But first we're gonna say hello to this little baby. Isn't she so precious? Look at her. Look at her. So first I got this physical copy of Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I actually read this book on my Kindle, but I saw the physical copy and had to buy it because this is my favorite Rainbow Rowell book and it's just one of my favorite YA contemporaries. So yeah, it's a YA contemporary about an unlikely romance that forms between these two misfits, Eleanor and Park. The writing in this book just left me breathless. I mean, it was truly some of the most beautiful writing I've ever seen in young adult fiction. It's set in the 80s, so there's a lot of talk about punk rock and comic books, and it's a little bit geeky, but so fun. It deals with a lot of really hard life issues too, like body image issues, and difficult family stuff. It's just this gritty, devastating coming-of-age tale that I don't know, I haven't forgotten, and I don't think I ever will. I also picked up The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling because, I mean, it's J.K. Rowling. I'm not gonna lie, I know nothing about this book, but after finishing Harry Potter, I had to pick it up, and yes, I'm aware that this is an adult book that has nothing to do with Harry Potter. I've actually heard that it is a little bit underwhelming, but I'm sure that a lot of that has to do with the fact that she wrote Harry Potter. I don't really know how you can write anything after that. But yeah, this was a $30, it says it was $30 on the inside, hardback that I got for like $2. So I had to pick it up. I had to get it. All I know about this book, literally all I know about this book is that it's a small town war story. So I don't know, if you've read this, please leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts if it's worth picking up. Yeah, I don't know, this is probably the most unpredictable one that I got at the book sale. I also picked up Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, which is super popular and hyped on BookTube. I believe this is a fantasy dystopia series about a world that's divided between people who have red blood and people who have silver blood. So people with silver blood have special abilities of some kind that vary, I think, and so they're kind of considered superior, and the people with red blood I guess are like the slaves. The main character, Mare Barrow, I don't know how you say that. I think that's how you say it, Mare. She's kind of like a heroine, you know, savior character. There's a bit more on the plot on the back of the book, but I really don't want to know that much more about the plot, to be honest. I have heard that this is a fast-paced, generally enjoyable read. I have heard there's a lot of cliches and a lot of YA tropes in this book, but some people tend to believe that she pulls it off pretty well. So I'm interested to see what I think about this. The next book I'm so excited I snagged is Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and I'm sure you've seen this cover around. She's the author of We Should All Be Feminists. There are a lot of people I know who have similar taste in books. I really trust their opinions, and this is their favorite book. So I have high expectations for this. I know that I love this author already from We Should All Be Feminists. She just has a lot of really important things to say about race and gender equality and immigration and other relevant topics to our time. This is a book about two people, and I'm totally gonna butcher their names, Efemelo and Obinzi. If you know how to say that, let me know down below. But it's about these two people who are young and in love, and they live in military-ruled Nigeria. The girl leaves for America, and she has to, really for the first time ever, kind of wrestle with the fact that she is a Black woman. I'm not really sure what happens to Obinzi, the male, in the beginning, but I know that on the back it says that he hoped to join her, but with post 9/11 America closed to him, he instead plunges into the dangerous, undocumented life in London. This book won an award as one of the best 10 books of the year by New York Times. I think it's won a lot of other awards as well. And yeah, it came out a few years ago. I'm really looking forward to finally getting into this. I was also super excited to find Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is a book that so many of my favorite booktubers have raved about, including Reagan from Peruse Project, and more recently, Jess McGlenn from Catch a Single Thought. I just know I'm gonna love this book. This is about a post-apocalyptic world that follows a surviving theater troupe, and so apparently it follows the theater troupe before the world ends, shortly after the world ends, and then like 20 years in the future. I've wanted to pick this up for a long time, but for some reason I thought it was gonna be a little bit of a slower read. But more recently I've seen a lot of reviews saying that it's actually pretty quick to read, it's action-packed and full of mystery. And yeah, I'm getting a lot of like Night Circus slash The Gracekeepers vibes from this book. I don't know if that's accurate at all, but I know I'm gonna like it. It's such an interesting premise. I also picked up this gorgeous book, The Nest by Cynthia Sweeney, that I've also been wanting to read for a long time. The lady at the library sale who checked me out told me that this was her favorite book, and that I like totally lucked out in finding it there. So I'm really excited about that. I also love that Amy Poehler blurbed the cover, was not expecting that. She said, intoxicating, I couldn't stop reading or caring about the juicy and dysfunctional Plum family. So yeah, this is a dysfunctional family story about the Plum family who live in New York City, I think. And it kind of follows the aftermath of the older brother, Leo, I think, who went to rehab. So months before his rehab, he gets in a drunk driving accident. And I guess because of that, he's endangered this joint trust fund in their family, which is called The Nest. And so they were apparently months away from receiving this trust fund finally. It seems like it might be really sad, but all of the reviews that I found say that it's super entertaining and fast to read, and that, you know, that it really touches on the choices that we make in our families and the possibilities of friendship. And family dysfunction stories are right up my alley, so I know I'm gonna love this. I also picked up The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks, which is by E. Lockhart, and she wrote We Were Liars, and that's the only reason I picked up this book. I had never heard of it before. I loved We Were Liars. And yeah, once I got it, I was pleasantly surprised to see that there were a number of positive reviews. Apparently this is a political and funny story about boarding school life that kind of transcends the whole high school tale of, you know, cliques and first love and getting into trouble. Although it has all of those things, it seems to be more so about deeper things. In the reviews that I've been hearing a lot is that Frankie is just an awesome feminist character who's really smart and funny and kind of dark. And yeah, I think this is gonna be a great YA contemporary to get to this summer. I also picked up this really, really cool copy of Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass. It's so old, it comes in this case. And yeah, it's in great condition. It was published in 1946, and I am thrilled that I found it. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but it's just a beautiful old book. And I actually don't have Alice in Wonderland, and I don't know if I've actually read Through the Looking Glass. So I'm really glad that I found this one. I mean, there's really nothing left to say about this. Just look at how beautiful it is. Like, it's just incredible. I also picked up The Diviners by Libba Bray, mainly because I loved Great and Terrible Beauty, and actually after reading a little bit more about The Diviners, I think this is gonna be the perfect book for me. This is a historical paranormal series set in the Roaring 20s that follows a series of murder mysteries. So yeah, that sounds pretty much perfect to me. Honestly, that's all I need to know. I already know that I love Libba Bray's writing style. And I love all things spooky and creepy, so I'm really looking forward to picking this one up. I also picked up a hardback copy of A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, which I read a few years ago through the library, and I loved it so much that I had to get a physical copy. This is just such a beautiful and meaningful book with just some of the most amazing illustrations throughout. It's just, it's so gorgeous. It's a haunting, lyrical, powerful story, just masterfully crafted. And it deals with grief and loss and love. And honestly, if you read this and don't cry, you're the real monster. I'm just kidding, but really. I mean, how can you not have the feels when you read this book? So this next book is a really fun find, but I'm really disappointed because after I got it, I realized it's the third book in the series, so it's in the middle of the series. But still, I got the third book in the School of Good and Evil series. I obviously don't want to read the back of this cover and see what this book is about because it'll spoil the first two books for me. but I have heard really, really good things about this series. It's a dark middle grade series. It's kind of a reimagining of fairy tales that takes place in like a Hogwarts style boarding school. And I mean, what more do you want? It's about a school where princesses and princes and villains are all trained, and an unlikely friendship that forms between two girls who are very, very different. It just sounds really cute and fun and immersive, and yeah, I'm definitely going to try and pick up the first 2 books. I also picked up Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them because Harry Potter. Also, look at this copy. It looks like it could actually live at Hogwarts. This is not the actual screenplay story. It's more of a dictionary or a book used in the wizarding world as a guide. There are these adorable little clever annotations throughout. Let's see if I can find some. And they're written by Harry and Ron. So it just feels like, I don't know, it just feels like a real textbook. Can you see that? There are these little notes and like funny little, I don't know, they look like handwritten notes. Of course I can't find one. This book belongs to Harry Potter. It just feels like a real textbook, and it's precious and I love it. I also picked up A Great and Terrible Beauty in hardback because, well, I'm ridiculous. I already have this in paperback, but I had to get it in hardback because I found the sequel in hardback there as well, Rebel Angels. So I'm very excited to have both of these. Finally, I have so been looking forward to reading the sequel, and so I may actually read A Great and Terrible Beauty again this summer and then read this one. That might be a plan. If you don't know, A Great and Terrible Beauty is about this 16-year-old girl named Gemma who grows up in India, and she ends up going to a boarding school in London following a family tragedy. And while she's there, this is a paranormal slash romance slash historical fiction kind of book. So while she's there, she has these visions where she sees the future, things that happen in the future. And she soon discovers that there's a young mysterious man who has been following her from India to warn her about these visions, and everything kind of unravels from there. It's just so good. Like, how many supernatural stories do you read about set in the Victorian age? I don't know very many. I just loved all of the girls in this story and their friendship, which was like flawed and interesting and just strange. I don't know, I just loved everything about this. So I'm excited to reread this one and then read Rebel Angels. Next, I found Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer, which is pretty different for me. I've actually seen this book around BookTube, surprisingly. I think Dana from the Book Hoarder read this and loved it. I've been wanting to read it for a long time, but I'm kind of terrified that it's really gonna make me want to become a vegetarian, and I love to eat meat. And yeah, I just kind of live in my blissfully ignorant bubble. So I feel like it's time to read this. It's actually a memoir, and I've heard that it's really well-written, thoughtful, and just kind of empathetic toward meat eaters. It's apparently really eye-opening from the factory farmers' perspectives, as well as the food reform activists' perspective. It's also supposed to be kind of funny, so I'm really interested to see what this one's all about. And last but not least, I got The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. I mean, I saw this popular YA cover, and how could I not? This is the first book in a romance slash paranormal YA series about a girl named Mara who wakes up in the hospital with no memory of how she got there. She was apparently involved in an accident that killed all of her friends, but she was left relatively unharmed. So it's a bit of a mystery. I've heard it's a really great page turner. I have heard that, you know, it's pretty typical YA cliche kind of story, similar tropes that you see a lot. I've also heard that there are some flaws that you really can't ignore in this book. But I feel like my expectations are pretty on par with what the book is actually like. And yeah, I really love a good, unreliable narrator story. And I've heard that the suspense really pulls you in. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. It might be a good summer read. So yeah, those are the books that I got at my annual library book sale. If you've read any of these books, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of them. I have so many books that I need to read now. It's ridiculous. And I'm sure I'll see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.